Okay, so we're diving deep into Dreams from My Father today.
Sounds good.
And you want to, really get to the core of it.
Yeah.
I think what's so fascinating about this book is it's not just your typical political biography. It's
Right.
like so personal, you know.
Incredibly person.
It's a story about race and identity and belonging,
Uh-huh.
all told through these like vivid stories.
In surprising moments.
Yeah, moments that really make you think.
Absolutely.
And what I think is so interesting is how Obama uses his search for his absent father
Right.
as a way to explore these like bigger issues
Yes.
of race and identity in America.
And what's so fascinating about that is it's something that so many people can relate to,
But
like on a
listen,
very
I know-
personal level.
It makes you think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we form our identities?
Exactly.
Especially when a big piece like
Yeah.
a parent is missing.
Absolutely. And he doesn't shy away from the complexities at all.
No, he doesn't.
He weaves this personal story into the larger context of America's racial history,
Which makes it so powerful.
which is what makes it so compelling and thought-provoking.
So we're going to trace his journey
Yeah.
from childhood to young adulthood.
Right.
Really looking at those key events and relationships that shaped how he sees himself and the world.
It's a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's full of little moments,
Yes.
anecdotes,
A little detail.
and it just reveals so much about him and his struggles.
And how he's grappling with these big questions
Exactly.
about race and belonging.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Let's start with his childhood in Hawaii. His dad, Barack Obama Sr.
Mm-hmm.
Is this like larger-than-life figure,
Right.
even though he was mostly absent?
He's this almost mythical image in a way.
Yeah, we get this image of him through the stories
Yeah.
told by family.
Right.
But is it really the full picture?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's like,
We get this like classic
it's almost like
idealized absent father.
Exactly.
But then Obama contrasts those stories with the reality of his absence.
Right.
And it creates this
I'm going
tension.
to run throughout the whole book.
Yeah.
I totally felt that tension.
Yeah.
I felt it.
Yeah.
Like, just in that story about his grandfather,
Oh, yeah.
Gramps,
Right.
telling about, Obama Sr. confronting this racist who scratched his car.
Oh, gosh.
And he just calmly picked the guy up and held him there until he apologized.
Wow.
What do you make of that?
I mean,
Did that feel authentic to you?
yeah, it did to me.
Oh, okay.
I think it speaks to a certain way
a certain way
of navigating
Right.
those types of challenges.
Right.
It shows how complex racial dynamics were.
Even in a seemingly idyllic place like Hawaii,
Right.
You have this kind of casual racism,
Uh-huh.
but also Obama Sr.'s quiet defiance in the face of it.
Yeah, that quiet defiance.
So interesting how these early experiences in Hawaii,
Right, a place that's known for diversity.
known for its diversity,
Still.
still these issues were simmering beneath the surface.
Exactly.
And that brings us to his adolescence.
Oh, yeah.
When he sees that jarring image in Life magazine
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
of a black man trying to peel off his skin.
That was like a punch to the gut.
I felt that.
I know.
Oh, it was rough.
It was
such a visceral representation
Yes.
of that internal struggle that so many black Americans face,
Right.
that desire to escape the societal burdens placed on them because of their race.
It forces him and us as readers
Yes.
to confront these painful realities about race in America
In a way we haven't before.
in a way we might not have before.
Yeah, and it's especially poignant because it's happening as he's navigating his own identity.
Of course.
And that ties into his time at Punahou School, right?
Yes.
Their prestigious prep school,
Right.
where he just felt so isolated,
And out of place.
out of place.
Punahou really highlights
Yeah.
how complex race and class are. Even in a diverse environment,
Yeah.
that feeling of being other can be deeply isolating.
Yeah, do you think most people have felt that at some point in their lives?
I think so.
That need to fit in,
To find where they belong.
to find where they belong.
It's very human.
I think so.
Yeah.
Most of us have probably felt that pang of not belonging
Mm-hmm.
at some point.
At some point, for sure.
For Obama, that feeling only intensified when he went to college.
Right.
And it led him to search for belonging,
Okay.
specifically within the black community.
Yes.
But it wasn't easy.
Not at all.
He grapples with what it means to be black
Mm-hmm.
and questions his own place in that community.
Yeah.
He even has that argument with his friend Ray.
Oh, about whether he truly understands
Yeah.
what it means to be Black.
Right, because of his upbringing.
Right.
That argument with Ray was so eye-opening.
Really?
It really was. It shows how differently
Yeah.
Black identity can be shaped.
By upbringing.
By upbringing and personal experiences.
Total.
And how Obama,
With his multiracial background.
Right, faced questions about his authenticity.
His authenticity, yeah. Did that resonate with you at all?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it raises an important point about how we define authenticity.
Especially within cultural and racial groups.
Exactly. Who gets to decide?
That's the question.
Who's in and who's out?
Right.
And for Obama,
Yeah.
that struggle with identity really fueled his decision to become a community organizer.
Right.
He's clearly searching for a deeper understanding
Yes.
of the roots of inequality.
Uh-huh.
And he wants to actually do something to create change.
And that's where we see the shift from the personal to the more political.
Yeah.
His work as an organizer in Chicago
Mm-hmm.
really exposes him to the harsh realities.
Of poverty,
Poverty.
racial segregation,
Yeah.
and the immense challenges of bridging those divides.
It clashes with his idealism a little bit, though, doesn't it?
It does,
In a way.
he goes in wanting to change things.
Yeah.
And then
Oh.
quickly realizes how complex this system is,
How entrenched it is.
how deeply entrenched it is.
Mhm.
It's like his time in Altgeld Gardens,
Oh, yeah.
the neglected public housing project he describes.
Right.
It's heartbreaking.
It's really tough to read those parts.
Yeah, the conditions are just appalling.
Rats, broken elevators.
Rats, broken elevators, asbestos.
Asbestos. Oh, my gosh. Just awful.
It's a gut punch.
It is.
Like a reminder that poverty
Right.
isn't just an abstract concept.
Yeah, it has real world consequences.
Real world consequences for people.
Absolutely. And it's not just about
Material deprivation.
material deprivation, right? But it's about
The erosion of hope.
the erosion of hope
The way that poverty traps people
in these cycles.
in these cycles of despair.
It's really tough.
His experiences there showed him
Mm-hmm.
that good intentions aren't enough.
Right.
You have to understand
Power dynamics.
power dynamic.
If you want to create real change.
And yet within those same communities,
Yes,
he finds these glimmers of hope.
he does.
I love that story about him confronting the Chicago Housing Authority director
Yeah.
with that group of mothers from Altgeld.
Yeah, like David and Goliath.
David taking on Goliath.
I know, it's so inspiring.
It really is.
That scene just captures the power of collective action,
Yeah.
even when you're facing these seemingly insurmountable obstacles,
Yeah.
right? Organizing and mobilizing people can create meaningful change.
It might be small scale,
It might be small,
but it's still change.
but it's still change. It matters
And it's a lesson that stays with him
throughout his career.
throughout his career.
Absolutely.
It lays the groundwork for his understanding of social change
And how to make it happen.
and how to actually make it happen.
It's where he really learns
Right.
to listen to people, understand their needs,
Yeah.
and find common ground to build a movement for change.
He starts to bridge that gap.
Between his personal search for identity
Yeah.
and his commitment to social justice.
And then, boom, he decides to travel to Kenya
Oh, wow.
to connect with his father's family.
Huge turning point in the book.
He is, right?
He's not just searching for his father in stories anymore.
Yeah.
He's confronting
He's confronting his family's
actual history.
actual history and legacy in Kenya.
Wow.
He's facing his past head on.
He's
He arrives in Nairobi,
right.
this bustling city.
So much energy.
So much energy.
But the inequality.
The inequality.
It hit him hard.
They hit him hard.
Yeah.
I remember reading that and thinking, wow,
Yeah.
he's seeing Kenya through these two lenses.
Right.
He has his American perspective,
Of course.
and then there's his sister Alma,
Uh-huh.
who gives him this more critical
Insider's view.
insider's view.
Their relationship is fascinating.
It is.
I mean, they have such different experiences and worldviews.
Right.
Because of where they grew up.
It's a reminder that even within families,
Yeah.
perspectives on things like race,
Yeah.
opportunity,
And even what it means to belong.
belonging can be so different.
So different,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And then there's Roy,
Roy, their brother,
their brother.
who lives in Kenya,
Yeah.
but feels completely disconnected
From the country.
from the country and its struggles.
What do you make of that?
Roy represents another layer of complexity when it comes to belonging.
Yeah.
He embodies those challenges of navigating multiple cultural identities
Yeah.
in a world that's constantly changing.
It makes you question what it truly means to belong.
Right.
Does it come from bloodlines,
Jared,
experiences,
smells.
or something else entirely?
Totally.
That's a tough question.
It is.
And it leads us into Obama's deeper dive into his family history
Okay.
as he travels to his ancestral village, Alego.
A Lego.
And this is where things get really interesting.
All right. We left off with Obama heading to a Lego, ready to dig deep into his family's past.
Yeah,
He's not just relying on stories anymore.
right.
He's having these intimate conversations with his aunts and grandmother,
Uh-huh.
really piecing together the puzzle of his grandfather Onyango's life.
It's like stepping back in time, isn't it?
It is, you're right.
To a world where arranged marriages were the norm.
Totally.
And a man's status was directly tied to his land and his ability to provide.
Absolutely.
And Onyango, with his Western education and his job in the city,
Right.
was a bit of a rebel.
He didn't quite fit the mold.
Yeah, he was trying to reconcile his modern aspirations with these traditional values.
Which it couldn't have been easy.
And that tension, that
Yeah.
feeling of being caught between two worlds,
Mm-hmm.
seems to be something that was passed down to his son, Obama Sr.
Right.
Do you think that's a common experience
Oh, yeah.
for children of immigrants?
Trying to balance the traditions of their parents
Yes.
with the realities of their new lives.
I think it's incredibly common.
It's like this unspoken legacy that gets passed down
Through generations.
through generations.
Yeah, Ellie.
And we see how Onyango's strictness,
Right.
his emphasis on education and hard work, shaped Obama Sr.,
Shaped him.
but also created a distance between them.
Yeah.
It's that classic father-son dynamic, isn't it?
It really is.
Wanting to live up to expectations, but also needing to forge your own path.
Forging your own path. It's so important.
I keep thinking back to that anecdote
Okay.
about Onyango refusing to let Obama Sr.'s first wife, Edema, cook for him
Oh, wow. Yeah.
when he came home.
Right.
It was a small gesture,
That's so loaded.
but so loaded with meaning.
What do you think he was trying to communicate there?
I mean, it was definitely about asserting his authority,
Okay.
enforcing those traditional cultural norms.
Yeah.
But it also speaks to a deeper emotional disconnect
Between them.
between them.
Yeah.
Like they were speaking different languages,
Different languages.
even within the same family.
It's almost like a cycle repeating itself.
Yes.
Onyango's strained relationship with his son
Right.
mirrors Obama Sr.'s struggles
With his wives and children.
with his own family.
Do you think Obama saw that?
I think he had to.
Yeah.
It's a powerful realization to
Right.
see those patterns repeating across generations.
It makes you wonder how much of our behavior is shaped
Yeah, by these unspoken legacies.
by those unspoken legacies of our families.
And how much can we break free from them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is a big question.
And it's something that Obama seems to be wrestling with
Throughout the whole book.
throughout the book.
Yeah.
You know how much of his search for identity is driven by a need to understand his father,
Or maybe even to break free.
to break free from those cycles?
Yeah,
It's a question that drives a lot of us, don't you think?
I think so. Trying to make sense of our past,
Yeah.
our family history, so we can understand our present.
And in Obama's case, that exploration leads him to uncover
Some pretty uncomfortable truths.
some pretty uncomfortable truths about his father.
Yeah.
He starts to see that Obama Sr. wasn't this perfect, idealized figure.
Right. He's human.
He had flaws.
He made mistakes.
He made mistakes. He struggled
With things like alcoholism.
with things like alcoholism.
Yeah, it's tough.
Was that a turning point in the book for you?
It was a shift, for sure.
Yeah.
It humanizes Obama Sr.,
Uh-huh.
makes him more relatable, more
That's
understandable.
more understandable.
But it also makes their relationship
More complex.
even more complex
It's like Obama has to grieve the loss
of this idealized version
of this idealized version of his father.
and come to terms with who he really was.
It's a process, right?
It is a process.
Letting go of that myth and accepting the reality.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about his father either.
Right.
He reflects on his mother's experiences
Yeah.
as a white American woman,
Navigating a predominantly black world.
navigating a predominantly black world.
That's another layer
Yeah.
to how he explores race and identity.
Her story adds another layer.
Another layer, absolutely.
I found it interesting how he described his mother's naivete at first.
Right.
You know, she thought love and good intentions
Could overcome those racial divides.
and overcome racial divides
But she was willing to learn
and adapt,
and adapt. Yeah.
to challenge her own assumptions.
Right.
Do you think her journey had an impact on Obama's approach to racial issues?
Absolutely. I think he learned from her
Yeah.
that understanding Race is an ongoing process. It requires humility, empathy,
And it's messy.
and it's messy.
There are no easy answers.
No easy answers at all.
It's not about checking boxes or claiming some kind of perfect racial awareness, is it?
No,
It's about
and coping,
being open to learning and growing,
even if it's uncomfortable.
even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think her influence is also evident in how Obama raises his own children,
Oh, interesting.
encouraging them to embrace all parts of their heritage.
Right. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
That sense of wholeness, even in the face of a world.
That constantly tries to divide us.
That's right. A world that wants to put us in boxes.
It's a beautiful idea.
It is.
But is it really possible
That's the question.
to reconcile these different parts of ourselves,
Yeah.
the various identities we hold,
Yeah.
in a world that often demands we choose sides?
It's a challenge for sure.
And it's the question that brings Obama back to Chicago,
Okay. Back to the streets.
back to the streets where he first began to understand
The complexities of social change.
the complexities of social change.
Right.
So Obama's back in Chicago,
Back to the streets.
back to the streets where he first began to understand
Those complexities of social change.
those complexities of social change.
Yeah.
But this time it feels different, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just about the work anymore.
It's personal.
It's personal.
He's carrying all those stories with him now.
Right.
The weight of his family's past, the resilience.
The resilience he witnessed in his ancestors.
His dusty letters.
Yeah.
The conversations with his grandmother in Kenya.
Right.
They've become a part of him.
Yeah.
And he sees the people he's working with
Through a new lens.
through new lens.
And I think that shift is most evident in his relationship with Rafiq,
Oh, yeah.
the community leader
Right.
who advocates for a more separatist approach
Right.
to Black empowerment.
It's tense.
Their dynamic is so tense.
So charged.
So charged.
That tension speaks volumes
Uh-huh.
about the larger debate happening
Within the Black community.
at the time.
This question of
Integration versus separation.
yeah, working within the system.
Versus demanding a complete overhaul.
It's a question that's still relevant today.
Isn't it?
Oh, it definitely is.
For sure.
And Obama, while respecting Rafiq's passion and anger,
Yeah,
seems to be wrestling with a different approach.
he does.
He believes in building coalitions,
Right.
working across racial and class lines to achieve a common goal.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a direct result of his own upbringing
I think you're right.
and his search for a unified identity,
His experience growing up
right?
in a multiracial family,
Yes.
being exposed to different cultures,
Yeah.
it all shaped his belief.
In the power of unity
Unity and collaboration.
and collaboration.
But it doesn't mean that he ignores the
Yeah.
anger, the frustration.
That many Black Americans feel.
Of course not.
And that's where his decision to join Trinity United Church comes in.
Trinity.
It's not just about finding a spiritual home.
Right.
It's about understanding
Yes.
the complexities of Black faith and identity in America.
I see.
Trinity provides a space
A space to grapple with those
to
complexities.
grapple with those complexities.
And Reverend Wright's sermons.
Oh, yeah.
Powerful.
They're raw,
Raw.
powerful, and sometimes even controversial.
I remember reading those and thinking, wow,
Wow.
this is different.
This is a different kind of faith.
Right?
It's not about shying away from hard truths.
No.
It's about acknowledging the pain,
The anger.
the
The sense of betrayal.
that sense of betrayal that many Black Americans carry.
And yet, within that anger,
There's this incredible well of hope, a belief in the possibility
of redemption.
of redemption and a better future.
It's that tension, that duality that defines the Black experience in America.
It's something that Obama clearly wrestles with
Throughout the book.
throughout the book.
Yeah.
You know, he's trying to find that balance,
Yeah.
that sweet spot
Yeah.
between acknowledging the pain of the past
Yeah.
and working towards a more just future.
Right.
It feels like that's the foundation of his political philosophy.
Absolutely. His time in Chicago, the lessons he learns,
Yeah.
they shape his approach to leadership,
He learns the importance of channeling anger into constructive action.
of building bridges instead of walls.
And those lessons are so crucial as he
Yeah.
transitions from community organizer to politician.
Right. He's entering a world where those divides are even more pronounced,
Yeah.
where the stakes are higher.
Do you think his experiences prepared him for that?
I think they were essential.
Yeah.
He learned how to navigate those complex power dynamics,
Right.
how to build coalitions, how to speak to a diverse audience.
But more importantly,
Yeah.
he developed a deep empathy for people from all walks of life.
I think you can feel that in his writing.
You can feel it on every page.
And that's what makes Dreams from My Father
So much more
than just a political memoir.
It's a story about becoming,
About a young man's journey to find his place.
to reconcile his personal history with these larger narratives.
Of race and identity in America.
It resonates so deeply.
Because it speaks to something universal.
That search for belonging, the complexities of family,
The weight of history.
the enduring power of hope.
It's a story that stays with you.
It really does.
Long after you finish the last page.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what are you left pondering?
Let me think.
Was there a particular moment or relationship?
For me, it's that constant push and pull between Obama's desire for a unified identity
Right.
and the reality of a world that wants to categorize and divide us.
It makes you think about your own life, your own journey.
It does.
How do we reconcile the different parts of ourselves
The various identities we hold.
in a world that so often demands we choose sides?
Dreams from My Father doesn't offer any easy answers.
No.
But it does provide a framework.
A framework for engaging with it,
It encourages us to examine our own stories.
to acknowledge the messy realities of our past,
And to embrace the possibility.
of a more inclusive future,
It's a story that challenges us
to think critically,
about the world we live in.
and our role in shaping it.
It's a story that's more relevant now than ever.
This deep dive was just the beginning.
It was.
We encourage you to explore the full memoir.
Read it.
Let Obama's words wash over you, and consider how his journey might illuminate your own.
Think about it.
What resonated with you?
Yeah.
What questions did it raise?
What stood out to you?
We'd love to hear your thoughts and insights
Absolutely.
as you continue to grapple with these powerful themes.
It's a conversation worth having.
It is.